Okay. Ich denke, es sollte laufen. Also, ich will euch mal ein bisschen teilhaben lassen. Also, ihr seht, das ist jetzt hier 17:30 Uhr, das heißt eine Stunde, bevor es losgeht. Und ja, ich habe mal was vorbereitet. Ihr seht, hier sind so ein paar Reiter drin. Ich wollte euch mal ein paar Firewalls zeigen, wie die so die Karten darstellen. Und eigentlich hätte ich am liebsten eigentlich das Ding von Palo Alto gehabt. Also das Palo Alto muss man wissen. Die haben selber so eine Threat Map und die ist eigentlich auch ganz gut. Und wenn man die Firewall hat, sage ich mal, dann kann man auch auf die Firewall draufgehen und dann sieht man selber alles. Allerdings nur, was einen selbst betrifft. Und jetzt habe ich gedacht, okay, das haben die bestimmt auch, ja, und habe jetzt rumgesucht bei Palo Alto Networks und irgendwas. Ich habe nichts gefunden, ja, dass man das irgendwie so über die Webseite äh, mal in der Gesamtheit von allen Firewalls, die sie haben, weil das hier muss ich auch wissen, ja, das, was hier ist, hier Checkpoint, das ist auch ein Firewall-Hersteller und die Informationen, die ihr hier seht, da müsst ihr wissen, das sind nur die Informationen, die die Firewalls mitbekommen von diesem Hersteller. Also, wenn eine Firma eine andere Firewall hat und angegriffen wird, dann kriegt Checkpoint davon überhaupt nichts mit. Es sei denn, läuft aus der Von-Seite durch einen Checkpoint durch. Aber naja, okay. Palo Alto hätte dieselbe Thematik und ich weiß auch, ich muss das erzählen, bevor ich die nächste Seite zeige, was ich da Unglaubliches gesehen habe. Ja. Aber Palo Alto hat selber Mechanismen in seiner Firewall verbaut, dass wenn man zum Beispiel Dateien schickt und ist sich nicht sicher, was da passiert, ja, dann kann man diese Datei kann man dann direkt an Palo Alto selber schicken. Die haben da irgendwelche Testsysteme. Das heißt, wenn es zum Beispiel eine ausführbare Datei ist, dann wird die ausgeführt und da wird dann in diesen virtuellen Windows wird dann geschaut, was da passiert. Und dann entscheidet irgendwelche Mechaniken entscheiden dann darüber, ob das jetzt Bedrohung ist oder nicht. Sowas kann man machen. Das heißt, im Umkehrschluss auf jeden Fall, Palo Alto hat die Daten, also hat sehr viele Daten und sie könnten auf jeden Fall eine gute Karte darstellen. Und ja, und jetzt will ich euch zeigen, warum ich hier so lange rumquatsche, bevor ich hier das nächste Fest aufmache. Ich habe nämlich hier so einen arschlochmäßig arroganten Text gefunden, den will ich euch mal kurz darstellen. Ja, okay, und jetzt kommt die nächste Seite. Hier. Das Palo Alto Networks have a threat map, like Checkpoint. Und jetzt gebt euch das hier. We do not have a Pew Pew map, last I checked. Also allein schon dieser Ausdruck, ja. Und dann, ja, also auf jeden Fall schreiben sie, ja, wenn man sowas machen will, muss man es gescheit machen. Und was dem am nächsten kommt, ist die Atmos Map. Hört sich hier schon fast an, als ob es ein Mitarbeiter ist von Palo Alto. Auf jeden Fall unglaublich arrogant. Unglaublich arrogant. Und diese Seite hier, wenn man jetzt hier drauf schaut, also man kann mal hier schauen, hier sind nur Artikel. Hier oben, also es gibt hier nichts Vergleichbares, die haben keine Live-Map, ja, das ist Schwachsinn. Also es ist auf jeden Fall ein absolut arschlochmäßiger Text. Und auch wenn man auf die Palo Alto-Seite geht, also die hat sich seit 15 Jahren nicht verändert. Ja. Es schaut inzwischen irgendwie alt, vergammelt, modrig aus. Und wisst ihr was? Mit solchen Texten, und sieht man, das ist schon 2 Jahre alt, ja. Haben die vor 2 Jahren schon so einen arroganten Text rausgehauen, haben immer noch nichts anderes. Ja, es interessiert sie einfach nicht. Also irgendwie, ja, die verlieren den Anschluss an die Zeit. So sieht's aus. Also so viel mal zu Palo Alto, was ich euch nicht zeigen kann. Aber ich habe tatsächlich Pew Pew Maps gefunden. Ja. Das ist hier Fortinet, also von der Wertigkeit her. Das muss man aber sagen. Leider ist Checkpoint hier auf Platz 1. Ich hätte hier Palo Alto eigentlich gerne gesehen, aber wir haben ja keine Pew Pew Map. Darum halt Checkpoint. Das sind noch die seriösesten. Da sieht man auch hier. Das ist hier allein von der Darstellung, oder? Brauche ich jetzt nicht weiter erklären. Palo Alto können wir knicken. Hier ist jetzt Fortinet. Ja, wir haben eine Pew Pew Map, so sieht's aus. Ja, also wisst ihr, man muss auch noch wissen, dass Palo Alto natürlich in harter Konkurrenz zu Fortinet steht. Und wenn die natürlich jetzt von Usern darauf angeschrieben werden, sagen, hey, mach doch auch mal so eine Threat Map. Und dann schauen sie sich an, was andere haben. Und dann sehen die halt dieses Ding hier von Fortinet. Dann ist das natürlich schon, ja, es ist schon sehr verspielt, sagen wir es mal so. Aber es geht noch besser, es geht noch besser. Ja, es ist jetzt mit absteigender Reihenfolge hier. Hier sind wir jetzt bei der, also es ist eigentlich die billigste Firewall für mich. Es ist meine persönliche Meinung. Ja, bin kein Tester und werde nicht bezahlt von irgendwem oder so. Einfach meine Meinung. Sonic Wall, das ist also die unterste Ebene von diesen drei Firewalls, die ich jetzt hier rausgesucht habe. Aber dafür haben sie echt eine coole Darstellung, oder? Das sieht doch aus wie Star Wars hier. Insofern gebe ich diesen Palo Alto-Typen vielleicht sogar ein bisschen recht, ja. Also natürlich klar, sowas sollen sie jetzt nicht machen. Er hatte schon recht, wenn man das macht, muss man es richtig machen. Aber hey, sag mal hier, Checkpoint macht es doch relativ richtig, oder? Ist da was dagegen einzuwenden? Also auf jeden Fall so einen arroganten Text und dann mit so einer windigen Website und ja, sollen sie ja mal zeigen, was sie haben, ja. Das ist natürlich, da könnte man schon wieder unterstellen, wenn sie halt vielleicht weniger Firewalls verkaufen, dann kriegen sie vielleicht weniger Daten und dann blicken sie es vielleicht nicht mehr so, ja. Also, ohne Schmarrn, wenn einer mal so ein bisschen versteckt und blöde Sprüche ablässt, warum er irgendwas versteckt, dann gefällt mir nicht, ja. Ich bin da eher Linux. Ja, genau. Auf jeden Fall, ich lasse es jetzt hier mal laufen. Das ist auch für mich so ein bisschen Test. Habt ihr schon gesehen, ob das hier läuft zum Livestream. Ich mache das hier mit OBS Studio. Da muss man einmal einen Key dann austauschen noch. Und halt, ja, YouTube. Schauen wir mal, wie es läuft. Ich werde das jetzt einfach mal ein bisschen laufen lassen. Oder was heißt ein bisschen? Das Ding läuft ab jetzt und wird jetzt weiterlaufen. Ja, über das Musk-Interview hinweg und dann kann man halt im Vorfeld, dass man sich schon mal ein bisschen Eindruck hat. Und da wird es nicht so langweilig wird zum Zuschauen, werde ich ab und zu mal die Maps umschalten. Und ich habe mir überlegt, ob ich noch ein kleines Hörbuch anmache, aber ich habe mich eigentlich gerade dagegen entschieden. Ähm, Da muss jeder selbst dafür bereit sein. Ja. Kann man den Leuten nicht so aufs Auge drücken. Auf jeden Fall, wen es interessiert, Gott ist eine KI von Alexander Laurent vom Eurasischen Couple. Das ist auf jeden Fall mal sehr zu empfehlen. Sollte man sich anschauen. Und wenn man sich das anschaut, da gibt es extra ein Video davor, was man sich anschauen soll, bevor man die Videos anschaut. Sonst versteht man nämlich überhaupt nichts. Weil man, das ist nur Humbug. Aber okay, anderes Thema. Also wie gesagt, ich lasse es jetzt hier mal laufen und ja, wir werden sehen, was passiert. Und wie gesagt, ab und zu schalte ich die Firewalls mal durch und vielleicht, ich behalte mir auch das Recht vor, mich ab und zu mal wieder einzuschalten und hier irgendwie blöd dazu zu labern, wenn mir was Interessantes einfällt. Aber für jetzt, ich lasse es mal laufen. Bye bye.
Elon Musk tatsächlich. Was ist das für ein Titel? Im rechtsextremen Livestream. Alter, die merken echt nichts mehr, ja? Und jetzt hier, schaut's euch an. 150 Experten, ja, Grammaton-Kleriker nennen wir die hier beim Equilibrium, ne? Das sind Grammaton-Kleriker, die jetzt abgestellt werden. In Brüssel und Sevilla prüfen, ob Musks Livestream-Interview der deutschen extremen Rechten Auftrieb gibt.
Linksen, die linken und grünen Angreifer noch in Schach zu halten. Es ist nicht einfach in Deutschland noch der Meinungsfreiheit Platz zu geben. Soros, Bill Gates finanzieren deutsche. Also wenn Sie Leserfragen entgegen. Also wenn Sie uns Fragen stellen, beziehungsweise den Diskutanten, dann her damit einfach, wie machen wir das, per E-Mail oder Anruf?
Nein, die Fragen können Sie uns in den Chat von YouTube reinschreiben und den verfolge ich die ganze Zeit und beantworte alle Fragen, nehme die Fragen da auf. Wir haben auch schon die allererste Frage zum Beispiel und das ist die erzählt wird, kann dieses Interview mit Musk als illegale Parteispende gewertet werden und deswegen der AfD in dreifacher Werthöhe als Strafe auferlegt werden?
Ja, das ist der nächste Trick der Linken. Sie versucht halt einfach die Meinung einzugrenzen. Es gibt überhaupt keinen Grund dafür. Auch CDU-Politiker, Grünen-Politiker gehen auf ausländische Sender, ausländische Milliardäre, George Soros, drüber. Jetzt.
Perhaps we could start by outlining, if you could outline what AFD's platform is. What are the main things you're aiming for? Where does Germany?
Sind wir denn zu sehen?
Zu geben, offen über verschiedene Themen zu sprechen. Können Sie mich hören? Perfekt. Um damit anzufangen, wer wir sind, ist die AfD, die Alternative für Deutschland. Es handelt sich nicht um eine relativ neue Partei, gegründet vor 11 Jahren während der Euro-Krise. Probleme. Leider muss ich, wenn ich unsere Partei etwas beleuchte, mit den ruhigen, negativen Umständen in Deutschland beginnen. Unser Land ist ein großartiges Land mit hochmotivierten Menschen. Aber unser Land, es wurde in den letzten 20 Jahren nicht richtig regiert. Wir hatten 16 Jahre lang die Regierung Angela Merkel und dann die sogenannte Ampelkoalition, die letztes Jahr implodiert ist. Und jetzt sind wir auf dem Weg zu den Wahlen. Meiner Meinung nach hat Angela Merkel, die erste grüne Kanzlerin, sie hat im Grunde unser Land ruiniert. Sie setzte sie durch, ohne die Leute zu fragen. Sie hat durchgesetzt, dass unsere Grenzen geöffnet werden. Was die illegale Einwanderung im Jahr 2015 anbelangt, so hat sie unser Rückgrat in Form von widerwärtiger Energie zerstört und vernichtet. Für die Ausländer, die Zuhörer hier im Publikum, Deutschland ist das einzige Industrieland. Das einzige Industrieland, das das Atomkraftwerk abgeschaltet hat.
And solar, because you don't have any energy and electricity when the sun doesn't shine and when the wind doesn't blow. And this is a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of solar energy, but clearly, if a country is at a very high latitude, then the amount of solar power in the winter is going to be substantially reduced. And then, of course, there's a significant difference in the day-night cycle of energy usage. So a lot of power can be done with solar and with large-scale grid energy batteries. But it must be supplemented with other forms of power because there's not a lot of sunshine in the middle of winter in Germany. So the solution obviously must be a multifaceted solution where there is certainly renewables, but also there does need to be some amount of fossil fuel energy and especially nuclear. I think nuclear is very much underrated. I think it was tragic for Germany to shut down the nuclear power plants. In fact, they're very well designed. And I think that the right move is, in fact, to increase the amount of nuclear power substantially in Germany. This would be great. And I think,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That was the reason why I wanted to shed some light on the current situation. So in order to form an opinion what our party stand for, because this is exactly what you said. We stand for a energy supply diversification. We cannot run a industrial country like Germany with a still strong manufacturing base. To tell you the truth, our manufacturing production, it peaked in 2018 and it plummeted since then due to high energy costs. And you cannot run a country like that. So therefore, we say, look, we need to be technology open, and we need to reinforce again nuclear power plants, because nuclear energy supply is carbon free, right? So
Yes.
therefore, we would also reduce our carbon footprint, which is obnoxiously very, very high. And this is the entire irony about it. So our governments, like the Angela Merkel government and the so-called ridiculous traffic light coalition, they enforced a green policy upon our country that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we would like to go back to technology openness here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, my recommendation, and I've said this publicly before, is that Germany should not merely reopen the nuclear power plants, but substantially increase the power generation. In the same space, meaning without increasing the size of the nuclear power plant in any meaningful way, without increasing the amount of land area that it uses, you can dramatically increase the power output of a nuclear power station, because the actual core part of the power station is extremely tiny. People don't quite realize just how small the center core of a nuclear power plant is. It's like amazingly tiny, and so you can actually, in the same land area, no increased land area, dramatically increase the amount of nuclear power that any given nuclear power station is producing. You do need a water source to run the steam turbines, but really far more power output is possible than people realize. And I think that the sensible solution is renewables, but with a lot of nuclear, and then to supplement where that there has to be some amount of hydrocarbon power generation to supplement where it just needs to be sensible.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you know what? So just let me do just like one more example, because like wind turbines, wind energy, in comparison to nuclear power supply, is highly inefficient. Also, in terms of land use. So, for instance, I give one example just to shed some light on it. If you were to replace one nuclear power plant, let's say like Emsland nuclear power plant here in Germany, with an annual electricity production of 10 billion kilowatt per hour, with modern wind turbines, with a production of just 8 million kilowatt per hour per year, you would need 1,250 wind turbines just to replace this one power plant. And with a rotor diameter of 70 meters and the minimum distance from large wind farms, you end up around with like 100 square kilometers. For example, this corresponds to half of the major city of Stuttgart, right?
Right.
So this entire thing, and just to stress the fact again, you don't need to be very smart just to do your calculations.
Yes.
But our energy policy.
I mean, that's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is like a bunch of these energy questions. You do not need to be like a world-leading physicist. It's very basic math, like high school, less than high school level math. I'd say middle school math even. It's very straightforward, not complicated.
Yes, absolutely. And then during the crisis, like during the war. Huh? Sorry?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. So during the war of Ukraine, so our gas supply was just destroyed, and that actually shed some light on our severe dependence on Russian gas. And do you know what the government decided in this crisis when the energy prices skyrocketed after we were cut off of cheap energy supply from Russia, they switched off the last nuclear power plant to even more create a shortage of energy.
Yeah.
So either you must be very stupid or you just hate your own country.
Well,
isn't it?
I think it's mostly the very stupid category. At least I'd like to think so.
Very stupid.
Well, I mean, there's an old saying that like one should never ascribe to malice that which can easily be explained by incompetence.
Yes, you're perfectly right. Now, so
but yes, I actually, when I saw that Germany was turning off the power plants after being cut off from gas supplies, from Russia, I thought this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Just when Germany most needs electricity,
yes.
Germany is shutting down one of the best sources of electricity, which is nuclear power.
Yes,
Crazy.
And completely carbon free.
Yeah, crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess if to summarize the two main things that AFD is aiming for in terms of change is a sensible energy policy and sensible immigration policy.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but actually even more. So we would like if I may continue a little bit, because now it's Elon, it's a complete new situation for me. That I just can have a normal conversation and I'm not interrupted or negatively framed, how that has been in the media the case in the last 10 years, which is completely ridiculous. So what we also stand for, since we are a conservative libertarian party, so at least we see ourselves like this, but we are extremely negatively framed as a so-called extremist party by the mainstream media. So we just say, look, we need to reduce bureaucracy. We need to free our firms, our companies, the individuals of this obnoxious bureaucratic conditions here. Yeah. Do you know like how long it takes, how many days it takes to get a business permit in Germany? Just guess.
As it turns out, I do, because we built.
The big plan.
We built a gigantic car factory, just near Berlin. So we had many challenges. I mean, this is, to be clear, like we actually had a lot of support, a lot of local support from the local government, from the national government, and despite all that support, just the sheer number of rules that the people in the government are required to follow is completely crazy, and we had to. I think it was 25,000 pages was our permit, and it had to be all printed on paper.
25,000.
Yes, I think maybe more than that in the end. 25,000, and then there had to be many copies made. So it literally was a truck of paper. Because and we're like, surely we can make this electronic, isn't that better for everyone?
No, not possible. You need to have that on paper in Germany.
And they say, no, it has to be paper. I'm like, this is crazy. This is only a few years ago. It's not the distant past. I mean, it's like we're well into we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. It's like, guys, let's just 25,000 actual printed pages, and then I believe every page needed to be stamped with a physical stamp. I mean, honestly, it's going to really tire somebody out to do so much stamping.
Yeah.
They're going to get some sort of repetitive stress injury. Yeah, they're going to get a repetitive stress injury from having to stamp so many people.
Stress injuries.
It's like just send them to the hospital or something. I mean, that's too much.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not trying to blame the sort of individuals who are doing this time, because they are just following the rules. So we have to change the rules, and there needs to be, I think, in my view, for all countries, but especially countries that have enjoyed prosperity for a long time, it is extremely important to have what I call sort of garbage collection of rules, which is to re-examine the rules and regulations and make sure that they are clearly a net good. And if there's any doubt about them being a net good, we should eliminate them, because otherwise we get to this point where everything is illegal. And so it's just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not only about bureaucracy, it's also about taxes. Germany has the highest taxes.
Yes.
Of all OECD countries. So, so the normal German employee, he works more than half of a year for the state. You have to imagine that.
You're right.
Like with taxes plus social security. So more than half of the year you work for this dysfunctioning state, because like the state does not provide the vital provisions for the people here. So he doesn't provide for security. So we have like skyrocketing criminal rates here.
Right.
He doesn't care about education. So we have this same insane, wokish, leftish, socialist agenda in our educational system. So the young people, they don't learn anything in school, in university, etc. So they just learn about gender studies.
Are you serious?
And they just, yeah. No, really.
I was under the impression that Germany had a pretty good education system that was quite rigorous with the gymnasium and all that sort of stuff. At least it used to at one point.
Yes.
So, but it sounds like this has I don't know, the woke mind virus has infected Germany quite badly.
Yeah. So you have the international standard of PISA testing, right? So the PISA survey.
Right.
So Germany, like a couple of years ago, was okay scored.
Okay.
But now, so we just plummeted because the survey showed that young people are not able to properly do math or speak or write German. And in some states here in Germany, you have to imagine they just abolished the writing grades in terms to get the language grade, right? So you don't need to write German properly anymore because our entire educational system has been deteriorating.
Wow.
And that is also the reason, for instance, why young people, they vote for us now, because they want to have a proper education and they want to have back a proper educational system that provides the young people with capabilities. And that is also the reason why so my personal opinion is that we have to go back to a merit-based system, right? So we need to go back to a merit-based incentive system and to go away from all this socialist gender things being in our educational system.
Right.
The families and the parents, they have the responsibility of their children, and the schools and the university, they have the responsibility to give good education and not all this vogue socialist nonsensical gender stuff.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of going to school is to learn useful skills that help you in life, help you be productive and understand the world.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not a school. It's just a propaganda institution.
True.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So, let's see. Yeah.
So maybe I can just go on, because I was just giving an example of the educational system where the state fails because our state, the government, collected in the last year a record high of income tax. So they collected around above 1 trillion, right? Of euros. So it is a record high tax.
Wow.
But the state, they cannot handle taxpayers' money. So what do? So they just throw the money out of the window for immigration in our social system, for instance. So since 2015, just to give you some numbers and also the audience to have an idea what's going on here in Germany. So we had an influx of almost 7 million people, but these are the officially counted. So
7 million people? Wow. Okay. It's a lot.
7 million people of influx since 2015 officially counted.
Wow.
And then because the people, they just another funny numbers. Our state allows people to throw away their passports before they cross our borders that are not protected and controlled. So 57%, almost 60% of the people coming into our country through an open border, they throw away their papers. Why do they do that? Because once entered our country, our funny country, with this funny immigration policy, they cannot be deported anymore. So that's the reason why. So our state, our government, like the Angela Merkel government and the last one, they proclaimed a policy that everyone can choose to cross our border to immigrate into our social security system and cannot be deported afterwards because they threw away their passports.
This is crazy.
Like, how insane is that?
Well, it is very insane, but that's exactly what's happened in the U.S. I mean,
exactly.
clearly there's a sort of, I don't know, a sort of far left agenda that's being pushed throughout Western civilization, any place they can go, because the exact same thing was done in the U.S. where, and now they're sort of calling people illegal immigrants, they call them undocumented. And the reason they're undocumented is because they threw away their passport, just like you're talking about. In fact, if on the Mexican side of the border in the U.S., there's a giant pile of discarded passports and driver's licenses, like a huge pile.
Unbelievable.
Because it's actually worse to come in with a passport than to come in with nothing. And then, just like in Germany, the Democrat government then gives massive amounts of money and support to what they call undocumented. But if they're undocumented, we actually have no idea if they are a murderer, rapist. We have no idea because they have no documents, so we can't actually tell. And so as a result, there's been a massive influx of criminals into the U.S. And frankly, I'm wondering what's taking criminals so long to come here. I mean, this is America's a target-rich environment. It's you can in America, it's so easy to steal things in these wealthy neighborhoods. It's like the only thing that is going to slow down how much you can steal is if your back hurts from carrying out all the goods. You know, it's like because you're just like you're not a robber, you're just a moving company. It seems like all the world's criminals should just come to America on that basis, because it's it's much easier to be a career criminal in America than it is in other countries where there's not that much to steal.
Yeah.
So we've seen a massive increase in crime in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. May I ask a question on that? Yeah. So I read that, for instance, in California, by the way, I'm very sorry what's happening there. It's terrible. It's really terrible to see. It's terrible. But in the case of California, that they just lifted the prosecution of theft because you have so many cases of theft. Is it true?
Yes. The de facto situation in California is that theft is almost never prosecuted. It's maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1% of the time is theft prosecuted, and even when it is prosecuted, the criminals are let out on bail immediately. So basically, theft is legal in California. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, there was recently a referendum in California to to make crime to make stealing illegal again, which was and actually that was a very popular, and it passed. Because it was actually literally legal to steal anything under $1,000, which means people could just walk into a store at $1,000 at a time and take out anything they want. And if the storekeeper stopped them, the storekeeper would be arrested. So this is literally like the Joker and Batman. It's like the criminals, are in charge, and the honest citizens are arrested. It's just completely insane. Now, like I said, the people in California did vote overwhelmingly to make theft illegal again. But astonishingly, the governor of California, Governor Newsom, he was against the making theft illegal, which doesn't make any sense.
And he just didn't implement it?
Yeah, well, no, but what they're going to do is, even though it is technically illegal again, the sort of far left will refuse to enforce it. So because you really need two things for something to work, for laws to work. You need both the law and you need enforcement of the law. And if you don't have, so I mean, this is something that George Soros really figured out. I mean, he's sort of a brilliant guy, but honestly very anti-human in my opinion. Is that you don't actually need to change the law; you just need to stop enforcement of the law, and that does the trick. So, I think there is somewhat of a reawakening in the U.S. and I think even in California, people are tired of this and they want change. And I think that's really, if you say like, why people are wondering, like, why did Donald Trump win? And it wasn't just a small victory. In the U.S. elections this year, President Trump won the Electoral College. He also won the popular vote, majority of the people, and the House is Republican and the Senate is Republican. What this says is the American people are demanding change. They're being very clear, and my recommendation for the people in Germany is to do the same. If you are unhappy with the situation, you must vote for change, and that is why I'm really strongly recommending that people vote for AFD. That's my strong recommendation, and I think this is simply the sensible move, and I think Alice Beadle's a very, very reasonable person, and hopefully people can tell just from this conversation, like nothing outrageous is being proposed, just common sense. In fact, I, as I've said publicly, I think only AFD can save Germany. And I just want to be very clear about that. Only AFD can save Germany. End of story. And people really need to get behind the AFD, and otherwise things are going to get very, very much worse in Germany.
Yes, because you rightly said, there is a difference of making a law and then enforcing it. So now we have the situation in Germany where you have, on the one hand, you have the AfD, and on the other hand, what's so-called uniparties, right?
Yeah.
The uniparty consisting of all the others, because they stick together, and no matter what they say, they're not able to implement, to enforce the promises they're doing in every election, especially the Angela Merkel party. Do you know that the chancellor candidate, so my running mate of the Christ Democratic Party, that it's wrongly labeled, for instance, by The Economist as a center-right party. So in my opinion, it's a leftish Green party. But anyway, Angela Merkel was the first Green chancellor we had here. So what he did is that he, by the way, just talking about interference, so I just look it up here. He called your interests in German politics, pushy and presumptuous.
Yeah.
And,
what does he say about George Soros?
yeah, exactly. And Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates, exactly.
That was not a problem.
Yeah.
When Bill Gates actually tried to sell his mRNA vaccination and not mentioning all the huge side effects on people's health, and no one takes responsibility about that. And the entire bluff and scam of wearing a mask, right? So it's unbelievable. And also that candidate of the Christ Democrats, like Friedrich Merz, he warned the world about the consequences of voting for Donald Trump in October last year.
Right.
So far for like foreign interferences, right?
Exactly.
So it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable, like how Donald Trump was treated by German media and German politicians during his election campaign. It was unbelievable. And I mentioned that before in a Bloomberg interview. It created, for me, it created physical pain to see that, how he was disparaged, like, and his entire family. So, so I feel very sorry for these people. Just like, saying negative things, and now, while we talk, 150 bureaucrats of the European Union are watching us, our conversation, to enforce this ridiculous Digital Services Act that is nothing else than a censorship on free speech. But free speech, right?
Yes.
It's and you said it, free speech is a precondition of democracy.
Yeah.
If you are not able to form a proper opinion and exchange opinions and ideas, and a democracy should be a competition of the best ideas, right?
Absolutely.
And compromises.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Without freedom of speech, people are obviously not able to say what they want to say, and then they cannot make an informed vote. So if people are simply fed propaganda and have no access to what's really going on, then they can't make an informed vote, and then you don't have a real democracy. So that's why I say, free speech is the bedrock of democracy. There must be free speech in order for people to make an informed vote. So that's essential. And you can sort of, it's actually quite easy to tell who the bad guys are. It's like, who wants to shut down freedom of speech? They are the bad guys. It's very clear.
Yes. And do you know what Adolf Hitler did? The first thing, he switched off free speech.
Yes.
So he controlled the media, and without that, he would have never been successful.
Yes, exactly.
Never been successful.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
This is what you do.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was one of the first things he did was to control the media and imposed extreme censorship. And what he was trying to do was shut down any pro-Semitic media, anything pro-Semitic or any defense of the Jewish people was shut down. So we have to, like, very few, for those who want censorship, I think they should be careful what they ask for, because once you institute censorship, it's only a matter of time before that censorship is turned on you, and eventually they will censor you, and that's the danger. Because people love to censor things they don't agree with, but they don't realize that one day that censorship is going to be turned on them. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned, of course, Hitler and whatnot. Now, there's a lot of the media wants to portray AfD as far right, as somehow associated with Nazism or something like that. Perhaps you could address that concern, because people, when they hear sort of right wing in Germany, they naturally have a bit of a negative reaction.
Yes, thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to, since I'm a economist, I would like to shed some light on the idea, when we talk about Hitler, on the idea of the National Socialists. Back then, during the Third Reich, the National Socialists, as the word says, they were socialists.
Yeah,
Adolf
very much
Hitler
so.
considered, yeah.
They nationalized nationalized industries like crazy.
Yes, absolutely. He
Yeah.
was a communist and he considered himself as a socialist. So what they did, they state funded then the private companies, and then they asked for taxes, huge taxes, and then also wait a second, I need to ask the word now, verstaatlichen. Yeah, nationalize the entire industry. Yeah,
Yeah.
you said that before, and the biggest success after that terrible era in our history was to label Adolf Hitler as right and conservative. He
Right.
was exactly the opposite. He wasn't a conservative. He
Right.
wasn't a libertarian. He was a communist, socialist guy.
Yeah.
So full stop, no more comment on that. And we are exactly the opposite. We are a libertarian, conservative party. And see, look at this during during the discussion of this terrible Hamas attack on Israel. So only the leftish Palestinians, they criticize the policies here. So you have a deeply vested anti-Semitism within the leftish movement. And it was always that case. Why? And Adolf Hitler, he also played with that. He played with the envy of people. Jewish people have been highly educated, very cultivated, and they were successful. There were wealthy people back in Germany then. And then he enforced the envy of the population against these people. And it was a socialist measure taken against them. Look at Stalin, look at the Soviet Union under Stalin, the very same thing. So he was nothing else than an anti-Semitic socialist. Yeah. And we are exactly the opposite. We are a libertarian conservative party. We are wrongly framed the entire time. And we would like to free the people of the state. I want to have independently thinking people, self-confident people. I would like to have a state that is minimized to his functions,
Yes.
and letting the people having their freedom of speech, freedom of wealth also, like generating wealth. With these obnoxiously high taxes, the state erodes the backbone of wealth, right? So the people are not able to accumulate wealth that make them independent from the state.
Right.
So I would like to have independently thinking, well-educated people who have the freedom to form their own opinion. I want to have strong leaders in Germany. I don't want to have stupid, weak leaders as we had in the last couple of years, because these people cannot think straightly. And they're a big danger. Look at the war in Ukraine now.
Yeah.
They're a big danger to our national security and to actually to the entire European security. This is also my hope in Donald Trump and in your administration, that you end that terrible war, this worthless dying of young people every day,
Yeah.
like as fast as you can, because the Europeans, they cannot. They actually given up on everything, like on a good military, on a good negotiation power. They completely depend on the US in the sense of, the USA need to do the entire job. We don't need to do anything. We just escalate the entire conflict against Russia. It's very dangerous what's going on here, and only you can basically stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think President Trump is gonna solve that conflict, I think, very quickly. As you point out, it's now been in somewhat of a stalemate for a few years, and all that's happened over the past few years is hundreds of thousands of people dying, but for no gains.
Yeah.
And the longer this conflict goes on, the more Ukraine weakens relative to Russia. I mean, Ukraine is a much smaller country. It simply cannot afford the losses relative to Russia. Russia has, it's just, it's this is the longer this drags on, the worse it is for Ukraine. And then you've got all these poor, men dying and for nothing. Why? So I hope this can be this terrible conflict can be resolved quickly, and I think it will be under President Trump.
Yeah, it will be great actually, because this is our now really like the people here, like many people are anxious, and they're anxious for a very good reason, I think, because this conflict has a potential to escalate big time towards a nuclear exchange. And here, the European governments, they have no measure, they have no strategy, they have no red line, no storyline of their foreign and security policy towards Russia, towards Ukraine.
Yeah.
They have no strategy to end that, and they don't have the military power, right? So they underspend the budget to NATO,
right?
For decades,
yeah.
like for a very long time. Like the average, for instance, of Germany, because the share of GDP is supposed to be 2%. So Germany, on average, I think it was just like slightly above 1%. So Germany didn't contribute. But Germany is also not prudent of the defendants of our own country. So this is the second thing. So we are completely dependent on the US. But I think, and I've listened to this very interesting speech of J.D. Vance. He said he doesn't want to have client states, right? Yeah. So he wants to have independent states who that also form their own independent opinion on things, right?
Yes.
So you, for instance, in your companies, you don't want to be surrounded by yes people and by mediocre people, right? So me neither.
Right.
So
no,
I try
absolutely.
to acquire. Yeah. So I try to to have the best people in my team, and these best people, they have the task to criticize me every day. And I don't want to have yes sayers, right?
Yes.
Because you cannot learn.
Yes.
So you have no mistake correction.
Sorry, I just said yes.
Yes. yes. Yes. Yes, people. No, but it's so. But it's so important. Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, for say my companies like SpaceX and Tesla, if we are constantly looking for critical feedback, because if we make a mistake, then the rockets blow up and the cars don't work.
Yeah.
So physics is very unforgiving. There's I say, like, really physics is the law, and everything else is a recommendation, because I've seen people break every kind of law, but I haven't seen them break physics. And so if you don't get the design of the rocket and the operation of the rocket exactly right, and if even one thing is wrong, the rocket explodes. So, that's why I'm a strong believer in seeking critical feedback. And in fact, I think critical feedback should be viewed as a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So
no. But just to continue on that topic. So if you don't have that feedback loop, so your rocket may explode, right? But here in this critical phase of this terrible war in the Ukraine, many people may die due to these stupid policies that have
many
been
people
made.
have died. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, let's touch on some maybe potential what people may view as hot button issues. Like, what are your views on Israel?
Oh, very complicated.
Okay,
the more
we have time. So.
No, really, like the more I read about the Middle East and the situation in Israel, the more complicated it gets. And
Yes.
to be honest, I wanted to ask you about a potential solution because, to be honest, like in my humble opinion, I don't see a solution. So maybe Israel have to find some alliances with the Sunni states, maybe if possible. Yeah, to be honest, from my point of view, like from my perspective, it's a very complicated situation, and I don't, you know, I'm not this person, I'm not a politician. If you ask a question that I do this blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I really say what I think to do honest politics. And to be honest, I don't know. To be very frank, I don't know how to solve the conflict at this point in time. And I hope maybe you have an answer on that. Sorry for being dissatisfactory, but it's so complicated, and I want to give prudent answer. And in case of Israel, I don't know how to resolve this conflict, to be honest.
Well, I guess maybe another way to say it is: do you unequivocally support the existence of the state of Israel?
Yes, of course.
Okay, that's what people want to know.
Yeah.
I'm asking questions that maybe seem very obvious, but you know.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Now I see where this question. No, absolutely. Yeah. So we need to protect the existence of Israel, and we need to protect not only the existence of the state of Israel. I also think that Benjamin Netanyahu have made many mistakes in the past, to be honest. But we also need to take our responsibility as a German nation state to protect Jewish life, Jewish people in our country who are exposed right now to Muslim crime, right? So they're not safe here anymore. So I don't know if you saw some videos here of the streets of Berlin. I'm right now in my office in Berlin, but like with all these demonstrations of the Palestinians here, well, a Jew could not walk through the street anymore, right? And we have a huge potential of anti-Semitic crime against the Jewish people. And to be very frank here, the AfD is the only protector, and I'm saying that like very frankly, the Alternative für Deutschland, the AfD can only be the only protector of the Jewish people here in Germany, because the Uni Party, all other parties, they did exactly the opposite. They let like millions of people in. They let them do crimes on our streets, like the crime rate are skyrocketing. And so the Jewish people, they leave our country. When I talk to my Jewish friends who live in Germany and in Switzerland and in France and in Austria, they were very afraid after the Hamas attack on the 7th of October, because they were afraid that they would likely to be attacked by Palestinians, by Hamas supporters, or by the Antifa, or by the leftist terrorists. I don't know, but they were very afraid, very sensitive when going on the streets. And we step up for these people, even though the opposite in the mainstream media, the opposite is claimed.
Yes,
but
no, absolutely.
This is not true. It's just a lie about our party.
Yes, I think that's what I wanted to just make it clear, that that AfD is being massively misrepresented, especially in the Western media. Yeah, and you know, no, obviously I very much support the state of Israel, but I mean I also believe that we want to be mindful and have empathy for civilians who are dying as well. When I've had conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I think we're largely agreed. I mean, there's three steps, which is like there's no choice but to eliminate those who wish to eliminate the state of Israel. Hamas essentially, but then and then the second step is to fix the education so that the Palestinians are not trained from when they are children to hate and want the death of Israel. So you've got to fix the education system, and then the third thing, which is also very important, is to make the Palestinian areas prosperous. This third step is very important. And this is maybe the hardest step, which is, but you have to have that third step. You have to bring prosperity. You have to help rebuild, and you have to bring prosperity. And I've had this conversation with many people in Israel. I said that third step is essential. And they've asked me, well, when has this worked? And I'm like, well, I'll give you a very big example. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was extremely unfair to Germany, and it created a massive amount of resentment. And the Treaty of Versailles laid the foundation with its extreme reparations laid the foundation for World War II. Without the Treaty of Versailles, Hitler would not have succeeded.
True.
Yes, and then, but if you look at so then the lesson was learned. So then after World War II. When Germany and Japan were defeated, the U.S. actually helped rebuild Japan and Germany, providing financial support to rebuild Japan and Germany. And now Japan and Germany are allies. And this is a very important and fundamental lesson of history. Yes,
you're absolutely right. When after the Hamas attack, I just opened Google Maps to have a look, okay, what is the geographic situation there? And when you see the Gaza Strip, right? It's a Gaza Strip which is just locked in, with no resources and not even water supplies. So there can be cut off a water supply and other supplies, just like instantaneously. And this construction also like just having a look like from a geographic perspective, you don't need to be very smart that this is not going to work out. And to make this area wealthy with specific measure being taken, it's a very vital first step.
Yeah, I think it's essential, and it requires overriding the natural human instinct for reciprocity, which is that to basically an eye for an eye. But the problem with that, an eye for an eye, is that if you keep doing that, an eye for an eye, as the saying goes, an eye for an eye makes everyone blind. That's why I think there's great wisdom to forgiveness. You need both strength and forgiveness, but this is the only way to stop the endless cycle of violence.
It's a very nice sentence. Like the eye for an eye makes everyone blind.
Yeah, exactly. So, so hopefully that can be the future. That's the best future I can think of. I think there's not some other future that works.
So how about, may I ask you another question, because we just jumped topics. What is your point of view? We stopped that your administration will end the war in Ukraine very swiftly. But what is your perspective on the instruments and measures that could be taken? So would you like to talk about it? Can you talk about it a little bit? So what we could expect?
Well, this, to be clear, I mean, this is up to President Trump. You know, he is the commander in chief, and so it's really, you know, up to him. So I don't want to speak for him. So, but I you know, I do think that there is a path here to a resolution, and but it does require strong leadership in the United States in order to get this done. So, yeah. But I'm confident that it can be done. And I do think it's possible to have peace in the Middle East as well. These are possible. So, and I think that would be a great future for the world. So, yeah.
No, great. So it's absolutely fair. So very, very fine with me. Yes.
Well, let's see. Are there any other topics we should discuss, or if you have any questions for me, or anything you think people might want to know about?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Because I want to ask, and many people are interested in that. So why do you believe that flying to Mars and populating Mars is your top priority topic, the SpaceX? And when do you think, when will you be ready to have a human expedition to Mars? If you allow, if I may ask this question, because everyone is interested. So these are great projects, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think at a very high level, I think sort of like what set of actions are going to lead to the long-term prosperity of civilization. You know, the sort of a growth in the scale and scope of consciousness. You know, to the best of our knowledge, we are the only place with life, or certainly the only place with life that is intelligent in some form. You know, a lot of people think, oh, there must be aliens, but I've not seen any evidence of aliens. If the archaeological records are correct, you know, Earth is 4.5 billion years old, but civilization, as measured from the first writing, is only about 5,000 years old, which is about 1/1,000,000th of Earth's existence. So all of human civilization is a tiny flash in the pan so far. And so we have to say, well, what steps can we take to ensure the long-term survival of life as we know it, of consciousness? And if we are a multi-planet species, the probable lifespan of consciousness is dramatically greater than if we are a single-planet species. This is not to say that I think that Earth is about to die or anything like that, but there is some risk. You know, if there is a global thermonuclear war, or some extreme natural event like a giant, you know, meteor that hits the Earth that causes a mass extinction event. I mean, if we look at the fossil record, there are at least 5 extreme mass extinction events that would have just basically extinction events that would have destroyed all of humanity completely. There's 5 of them at least, and so I think if we should take this opportunity today, because for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth, it is possible to extend life and to extend consciousness beyond Earth. And that window of opportunity may be open for a short time, or it may be open for a long time. But just in case it is open for a short time, we must take advantage of this window and as quickly as possible become a multi-planet species and ensure the long-term survival of civilization.
So what is your time frame for a expedition, like for the first human expedition?
Well, yeah, so to be clear, what matters is not so much the sort of flags and footprints, but the establishment of a self-sustaining city on Mars, where the critical threshold is where the city can grow independent of Earth, meaning if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming for any reason, that the Mars colony does not die out. That's if we are able to reach that point, then we have passed one of the very important and fundamental Fermi great filters. There's this idea of like, well, why don't we see evidence of intelligent life? Well, that there's this idea that there are these various great filters that these civilizations never pass, and one of those great filters is never going beyond your home planet. So if we can pass the Fermi great filter of being a single planet species, and to be clear, if we are a single planet species, it is just a matter of time before we are annihilated. One can argue about how long it will take, but eventually there will be something that happens that annihilates civilization. It might be very far in the future, but we simply know from the fossil record, as I mentioned, that there have been at least 5 mass natural extinction events. And I think there's added risk for humans that we could destroy ourselves, because the dinosaurs did not have thermonuclear weapons. So they also didn't have spaceships. So we've got the risk of thermonuclear war that could destroy everyone, but we also have spaceships that can make life multiplanetary. And but to answer your question more directly, I think we can send uncrewed starships to Mars in approximately 2 years. So Earth and Mars Earth and Mars align for planetary transfer roughly
every 6 months.
Every 2 years, every 26 months.
2 years. 2 years.
Yes. So the Earth obviously takes a year to go around the sun. Mars takes approximately 2 years.
Ja, ich grätsche jetzt mal rein. Also, so wie ich das Ganze einschätze, ja, es ist ein harmloses Gespräch. Ein paar ganz, ganz harte Sachen hat die alles trotzdem rausgehauen, die aber halt, also meiner persönlichen Meinung nach, unverkennbar sind. Also was morgen bestimmt in der Presse kommen wird, das ist, dass sie gesagt hat, Hitler war ein Linker. Ja? Aber sie hat es ja gut begründet und jetzt mal ehrlich, ich habe mal hier sogar auf meinem Kanal mal dieses Video gezeigt, wo ich erkläre, dass es eigentlich nur 2 Richtungen gibt, oder nicht rechts-links, sondern dass es nur Demokratie oder irgendeine Form von autoritären Staat gibt. Wirtschaftssysteme sind immer aneinander gebunden. Ne? Das heißt, Demokratie ist automatisch freie Marktwirtschaft und irgendeine Form von autoritären Staat ist automatisch immer Planwirtschaft. Und jede Subventionierung, also wenn man das als richtig anerkennt, ja, wenn man diese Erkenntnis mal für sich selber herausgefunden hat und will dann diese Begriffe rechts-links einordnen, dann sind beide Begriffe in irgendeine Form von autoritärem Staat. Ja, das ist ja nicht das, was wir wollen. Ja, wir wollen ja Freiheit, Demokratie haben. Das ist meines Erachtens auch das, wofür die AfD steht. Ich höre mir oft Leute an von denen, was sie sagen. Ja, und wenn ich also wenn ich von dieser Systemik ausgehe, dann ist da die AfD am nächsten dran und darum wähle ich sie. Aber ja, es muss jeder für sich herausfinden, was er wählen will. Ich will ja auch gar keinem irgendwas in den Mund legen. Das Ding ist einfach nur, und das will ich jetzt mal zum Abschluss sagen, auch für die Leute, die noch zweifeln vielleicht, sehen wir es mal realistisch. Es gibt 3 Optionen. Ihr könnt entweder sagen, ihr sagt weiter so, ja, dann wählt ihr irgendeine der Altparteien. Oder ihr sagt, ihr wollt den Wechsel haben, dann wählt ihr die AfD. Oder wenn ihr gar nicht klarkommt mit gar keinem, dann könnt ihr entweder gar nicht wählen oder eure Stimme den, was weiß ich, den grauen Fröschen oder was weiß ich, wie sie alle irgendeine Partei geben, sie halt wegwerfen. Ja, das war's. Also diese 3 Optionen habt ihr. Und ja, das ist das Schöne an Demokratie, dass halt ja, jeder frei entscheiden kann und dass keiner zu irgendwas gezwungen wird, oder? Und das wollen wir uns alle bewahren. Und ja, dann schauen wir mal, was passiert. Und vor allem schauen wir mal, was morgen in den Medien passiert. Die werden sich das Maul zerreißen ohne Ende. Da wird es richtig heftig abgehen. Von den Internetangriffen, also ja, Gibt es nicht viel zu sagen, es ist nichts Besonderes passiert. Auch meine Einschätzung. Zumindest auch, wenn man sich hier die gängigen, also das sind die größten Firewall-Hersteller, also die am meisten verkauften, die haben am meisten Daten. Und wenn ich hier nichts Auffälliges sehe, dass jetzt hier harte Sachen angehen, dann könnt ihr schon mal davon ausgehen, dass jeder, der euch morgen irgendwie erzählen will, was es da für harte Cyberattacks gegeben hat und so, dass der einfach Scheißdreck erzählt. Also es ist hier nichts abgegangen. Also ein ganz harmloses Gespräch. Da hat sich ein Mandal und ein Weibern unterhalten und morgen wird die gesamte EU dagegen vorgehen mit aller Härte und wird probieren, das zukünftig zu unterbinden, ne? Damit diese Unterhaltungen nicht mehr stattfinden im Namen der Demokratie. Also, wer das nicht erkennt, was hier abgeht, ich kann nicht mehr dazu sagen. Also, ich wünsche allen noch einen wunderbaren schönen Abend. Ich für meinen Teil werde jetzt No Man's Sky weiter zocken. Und ja, wir werden die nächsten Tage hören, was das hier alles für Folgen hat. Ich freue mich drauf. Bis dann. Oh, das muss ich jetzt anders machen.